Certification of meeting has been advertised according to sunshine law.
Call roll.
Mr. De Niro.
Here.
Mr. Zungri.
Here.
Mrs. Inaugurata.
Here.
Mr. Kennedy. Mr. Conti.
Here.
Mr. Walsh.
Here.
Mrs. Shaw.
Here.
Mr. Medicini.
Here.
Mr. Coviello.
Here.
Mr. Anello.
Here.
Mr. Harris. Mrs. Tavito.
Here.
Mr. Di Lorenzo.
Here. Can I have a motion for the approval of minutes for the December 2014 meeting?
So moved.
Second. Close call roll.
Okay. Mr. De Niro.
Yes.
Mr. Zungri.
Yes.
Mrs. Inaugurata.
Yes.
Mr. Conti.
Yes.
Mr. Walsh.
Yes.
Mrs. Shaw.
Yes.
Mr. Medicini.
Yes, was I here?
Did you read him?
Yes, I read it.
Mr. Coviello.
Take no part.
Mr. Anello.
Take no part.
Correspondence and payments of bills. Anybody have any questions or comments? Under old business, is there anything anyone would like to bring up?
I know that zoning was a continuation on the parking project. But I was under the impression that there was some unit in the whole.
Excuse me, Arlene, use your
You
mic.
have to talk
I'm
in
sorry.
mic.
There's major, obviously, construction and renovation going all the way to the sidewalk property on Franklin Avenue. That was, all of that was reviewed by zoning, are we aware of?
Yeah, we discussed that last time, that you had, planning board has no powers on that.
I knew
It's
it,
all
I
zoning.
knew it was, on the parking garage, but I didn't realize that it
Mhm.
involved a major renovation, or addition to the building as well.
Yep.
Okay.
Resolutions, Lois, any resolutions?
Yeah.
New business? I guess we have a certified copy of a resolution number 15-60 entitled Resolution of the Governing Body of the Township of Belleville directing the planning board to undertake a preliminary investigation of certain parcels located in the proximity of Drolland Street, Portland Street, in an area in need of redevelopment. That's the application. Darlene, are you ready?
Sure. Good evening, everyone. Darlene A. Green with Mazer. Right back at you. Darlene A. Green with Mazer Consulting. Frank asked me to come here tonight because you have a resolution from council asking the planning board to undertake this study. From what I understand, it's 3 lots, and there are some buildings on the property. So the study would look at the properties to see if they meet the redevelopment criteria, which includes letters A through H. Each lot would need to meet at least 2 of the criteria in order to be deemed an area in need of redevelopment. What we do is we do an analysis of the properties. We'll have to get access to the buildings. We'll go through your borough records, see if there's been any violations. So there's a lot of legwork that has to be done when you undertake an area in need of redevelopment study, because you need to prove that the lots meet 2 or more of the criteria. That's sort of the bare minimum requirement. So what if the planning board decides to agree with the council and move forward with an area in need of redevelopment designation, we would begin the work and the analysis that's required, go out, do all the research, work with the township to gather the information, and then we come back with a report that details our findings for each individual lot. And then we would come back at a hearing and provide the report to the board, and then they would either agree or disagree with its findings. Ultimately, you have to refer that report back to the council because they also are involved in the redevelopment process. So both entities work together. I'll take questions. I mean, I don't know how long you want me to go on. Yes, ma'am.
Darlene, where is on the map, where is the New Jersey Transit right away that's being included in the plan?
Does everyone have a copy of this map?
Yep,
Yes.
and that's what I'm just trying to identify where it is. Is it at the end of Terry's?
Oh, here's, problem is, okay, so, it's this right here, you can't tell. because
I know
of-
that's where the line is, but do they mean the track line or the fence line? I walked that property, and Patty and Pat, we walked together, we drove and we walked as much as we could. And the assumption is that where the existing fence is, that's the boundary. So we were trying to figure out whether where Terry Street dead ends,
Mhm.
and then there's a track. There seems to be an open area there that has a wooded area, and it looks like that is what might be referred to as part of the lot that's a right-of-way, but we weren't sure, so we need to know.
It's
Where,
a
you
very-
don't mean the track.
Mhm. Well, the resolution from council includes block 8902, lots 1, 10, and 11. And I do not see 11 on this map.
Okay,
So it's possible that the tax map is older.
well, a right-of-way wouldn't be obviously taxed, Mike, correct? The New Jersey probably right-of-way.
The train tracks actually in Belleville, some of them do have block and lot numbers.
There's a difference between the train tracks and a possible lot that's a right-of-way to access certain areas of the tracks at the dead end. What do we mean?
What do we need?
Do we mean the tracks, or do we mean a lot? What are we talking about?
I wouldn't think they could touch the tracks.
Yeah, so it's, where is that right-of-way lot?
We only are dealing with 3 lots. The problem is I don't know where 11's at because
Okay,
it's not
within
shown
the
on this map.
okay, within the resolution,
Mhm.
that's why I just wanted to know where it was.
So we know where 1 and 11 are, because they're clearly defined on your map. Excuse me, we know where 1 and 10 are,
Sure. we
because
see-
I
Frank-
actually checked.
Frank, is 11 the one-family house on the corner?
I think it's the one which was included, I think it was subdivided, the map was never
Updated.
updated. And we'd have to ask Mr. Harris when he comes back, I don't think he
Yes.
updated it.
Because I checked our tax maps
That's it,
too.
371 Portland. I have the tax record for all the property.
Yeah,
So 11 does exist.
Yes,
11 does,
exists, yeah, we have the tax
so
record.
11, so that right-of-way
It might be
exists?
371 Portland, which is a lot 11.
Right here.
Corner, so would that be the right-of-way?
Usually the right-of-way is right adjacent to it. A right-of-way would have to,
It doesn't have to be.
alongside the tracks.
But there's, or do we mean right at the end of Terry Street? That's what I'm trying to find out.
The end of Terry Street is not part of the study area.
Right.
So where Terry Street dead ends, and if you're standing at the end of Terry Street staring into those woods, that is not in the street development area. I don't know who owns it, but it's not going to get looked at by us.
Right,
So
so-
we are only allowed to look at the 3 lots in this resolution.
And I don't mean to beat a dead horse, but within this map, what section or what portion of it is the New Jersey Transit right-of-way? We can't say it's the tracks, so what part of it is it?
The right-of-way is north. It would be what is lot 9002, lot 2, would include their right-of-way. So do you see the shading on lot 1?
I see 9002,
And then the 2 right underneath of that?
so that crosses, does that cross the track? Since 2 is in the center of where the traffic area would be.
Well, the right-of-way is a lot wider than the tracks, but the tracks are not included in this study.
Yeah, that's the
No,
answer.
I understand that. What
Okay.
I'm trying to figure out is how much of the right-of-way is.
Arlene, if you were to undertake a
I'm not
redevelopment
making
plan, you
myself
would come with a
clear.
map and show us
Yeah, so all of our redevelopment plans, what we'll do is we'll prepare in the introduction section, we have to talk about each one of the lots being analyzed. We pull the tax records from the town, and then we will prepare a GIS map that has the aerials underneath, so you'll be able to clearly see which properties are included, and those GIS aerials are within 3 feet, so they're pretty darn close when you're talking about flying from the sky. And then you'll be able to see each one of the lots in the redevelopment area and their relationship to everything around.
So you clearly show us
Yes.
where
Yeah.
the New Jersey Transit right-of-way is. That's Arlene's concern.
Yes.
Thank you. Any other question?
It's too easy.
Well, during,
You had to speak and open your mouth. You jinxed yourself.
That's okay.
during your presentation to us after you do the investigations and all, obviously you would then give us a history of what those factories which appear to be abandoned or obviously haven't been used in years, those buildings that are beyond that fence line, what the history of the use of those buildings might have been. Only because we don't want to get into finding bizarrely that in the 1800s we're stuck with some type of an environmental issue, and that main lot on Drolman Street, as we're all familiar with, is in such horrendous condition and disrepair, since it seems to be used to be housing, trucking, and yet there's no paving, there's no gravel, there's no stone, and the earth clearly doesn't resemble what the ground normally would look like generic to the town of Belleville. I would be concerned just to make sure that we do not have any environmental contaminants.
Well, without doing a full-blown phase 1 study, we will not be able to tell you
But
everything. However, what we will do is we will send an open request to DEP to see what they have on the properties. Now, this all assumes that if the properties have been sold from those original owners anytime recently after the LSRP law went into effect, I think it's ISRA takes over and kicks in, and that's when the new owner would have to designate an LSRP to start the phase 1 investigations to see what kind of potential contamination exists. That's where you get your areas of concerns, etc. So we'll send an open request down to DEP, but that's contingent on the properties having been transferred that would trigger this process. Oh, and maybe we'll have some old historic information. I don't know that we're going to get something that says, for a fact, there is, soil contamination, if it exists.
I'm not saying in any way
Right.
that I know or suspect, I'm not trying to, but as we walked along the lines, we could see behind the houses the condition of these buildings. And obviously you can access one of the buildings from one end, just the one wall, or you could see the walls when you're walking along the tracks, which we did. And so then you say to yourself out of curiosity, wonder what they were used for. Wonder what was stored there. Was it a manufacturing site?
Right, and ultimately, if the properties are deemed in need of redevelopment, the next step would be a redevelopment plan. And we're going to want to know, in crafting that redevelopment plan, that the properties, whether or not they are contaminated, and if they are, can they be brought up to non-residential development standards and or residential development standards? Because that would then dictate what the redevelopment plan allows. So you're definitely thinking ahead, and eventually we're going to need much more firm answers when we get to writing the redevelopment plan.
Anybody else on the board have questions?
I have a quick one. What are the two areas that deem redevelopment? What are the two areas that we fit for redevelopment?
She's gonna.
That's the analysis. So there's letters A through H, and we need to fit at least 2 of those categories. So for example, letter H is what they call the smart growth category. So that says that if these properties were redeveloped, they would use an existing infrastructure. They would be able to walk to some kind of mass transportation like a bus line, etc. So based on its location, I'm quite confident that we're going to qualify for letter H. Letter A talks about the condition of buildings, are they unsafe to work in or unsafe to live in? Letter is it
50 years too with the infrastructure too.
well, that's rehab. We're going for redevelopment. And if the properties are in fact contaminated, that automatically triggers one of the criteria. So we essentially look to see which criteria each lot meets. And I've had some cases in other towns where we met 5 of the criteria because of just the lot, for whatever reason.
All we're doing right now is we're going to determine whether there is a need for the study. We're not approving a redevelopment plan, just
Correct.
obtaining the study at this point.
The only question, and I don't know if anybody on this board is aware of it, rumor has it that there's going to be apartments being put there, and I'm just wondering, do we know that? Is there any information that besides rumored? So, you know, we want to be the last to know.
No, I don't, I didn't get it.
Well, I think at
Nobody's
this
put a set
point,
of plans
that can't be
anything like
determined.
that. No, yeah.
There's no plan, it hasn't, we haven't even approved a redevelopment study.
Put on the part of the, yeah. Okay, so just, wanted to make it clear that if anybody was aware of it,
And we
that
can't
was
speculate
out
on
there.
rumors.
Can't make a decision.
And ultimately, it's assuming that it's approved as an area in need of redevelopment, I would assume that the council would then defer the creation of the redevelopment plan to this board as they had done historically, and you are the ones who ultimately decide what will go there. So you may come back and say, we want industrial there, or we want commercial, or we want, I don't know. So it's, you are the planning board, and the vision of this town, whether it be via master plan or via redevelopment plan, is your purview.
If no one else on the board has any questions, I'll open up to the public. If you guys have any questions?
That includes statements or just questions?
One statement, unless you have a statement.
What's my name?
Raise your right hand. Please, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes, I do.
Please state your name and address.
Victor Mafucci, 61 Continental Avenue. As little as a couple of days ago, I had called Lois to find out if there was a meeting. That was before they posted it on the website. Yes, there was, but at that time, there was not even a map in the file. Correct, Lois?
Yes.
So the public has not even seen this map. When you schedule the hearing, will that be noticed in the paper?
Of course.
Okay. And, Stephen?
Green.
Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Did you use the revised development laws? Because they only go up to F. This is my copy. Also, there was a presentation to the council, it might have been on the pre-meeting. The attorney was Frank Cosarelli, and I assume the other person was the owner. But yes, they wanted to put an apartment building there. I don't remember how many units, there was a swimming pool on the roof. So that was the plan that they presented. And they needed a pilot program to pull it off. That's it, thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I can answer your question.
Oh, okay.
This is outdated, and letter G and H were added, I guess, after this article was written. Letter G is if you're in a UEZ zone, and letter H is smart growth.
I'm just pretty,
Yeah.
it's dated November, that's.
Of 2004. It's okay. So yes, as you can see, they're always amending the law, so just in the future
That's
years.
what was online, so.
There is the New Jersey redevelopment and housing law is the official law that contains all of the rules. It's a
Okay.
little dry.
Okay.
Yes.
Does anybody else in the public have a question?
Also, those plans will be, the report that we produce will be available public to see 10 days before.
Of course.
Sure.
Yes.
Well,
Okay, No one has any further questions, would someone like to make a motion to undertake an investigation determining if the area, the study area, is an area in need of redevelopment?
So moved.
Second. Let's call roll.
Mr. De Niro,
Yes.
Mr. Zungri.
Yes.
Mrs. Inalderado,
Yes.
Mr. Conti,
Yes.
Mr. Walsh.
Yes.
Mrs. Shaw,
Yes.
Mr. Medicine,
Yes.
Mr. Coviello,
Yes.
Mr. Ainello.
Yes.
Would someone like to make a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Motion adjourned.
Meeting is adjourned.